Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the show. And we are super excited because, as you can see, we have another person sitting in our window today. And this person is especially special to me, as it is my daughter, Megs. Megs is a trauma-informed yoga instructor. She's a Reiki master. She's in certification for breathwork. And we are here to actually talk about that because we keep hearing this word breathwork. And some of us who haven't been exposed to it we're like, well, what does that actually mean? What would you use that for? Like, I'm not sure I understand. Or we have been exposed to breath work because we've heard of some story, some scary story that somebody has become really emotional and felt very unsafe in the process of doing that breath work. So Megs is here to help us understand exactly what it is, and actually guide us through a breath work so that we can all kind of experience what that's going to feel like in our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you touched on a couple of really important things. One of them being the concern or uncomfortableness that can be felt during a breathwork session. And that's why having a facilitator who is trauma informed is so important and integral with this type of work, because breath work, if we were to define it, is to bring conscious awareness into our breath and to breathe with intention or to breathe with purpose. There are so many different things that we can do to alter our state of breath and therefore alter our physical body, alter our mind, our energy, our emotions. Like, we can shift. The breath is the fastest way to shift any and all things. And there's so much accessible to us and so much that we can begin to play with in our own personal practice and just in a daily life that doesn't require a breathwork facilitator. Some of those breaths I'm going to be offering and guiding us through today. And for anyone watching this video, please know that this is a breath that is accessible for everyone. So you don't need to be concerned about, is this something that I can try? It is absolutely welcome for you to join and to explore it on your own time and in your own way. But with breath work, it is become very big in social media, and we're seeing it everywhere. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's so effective. It's kind of like gratitude practice, right? Everyone talks about how great a gratitude practice is, and it feels a bit buzzy and it feels a bit overdone, but actually it's overdone and talked about so much because it's so effective and because it works. Same is true with breath work.
That's awesome. So, people can do their own version of breath work. They can do things on their own and, like you said, help shift. So this could be used for, like, if people are feeling anxious, or if they're, if they feel kind of stuck or something like that. Is that what you use it for?
I mean, ultimately, you can use breath work for anything. You can use breath work to expand your happiness, to expand your joy. You can use breath work to help you feel grounded and anchored and supported and safe. You can use your breath to help you go to sleep at night. You can use your breath to help build confidence. You can use your breath to, you can pretty much fill in the blank with anything that you're looking to create in your life or to feel connected to. And there's going to be a breath that will help you to get there faster. So it's really a beautiful tool and complement to thought work, to coaching, to all of the kind of personal transformation and growth that we are all committed to as coaches. Breath work is something that just fits so beautifully into all of that, because there is a breath that complements any and almost everything that our clients may be moving through.
I want the happy one and I want the sleep one.
Yeah, I do. I want the sleep one, I want the confidence one, and the motivator one. But okay, let me ask you this though. Is this something that you have to be prepared for, have certain clothing? It's going to take you 45 minutes. Is this something like that?
No, I have a 2-year-old son, so I'm all about how do I fit something else into my life already, not how can I create space in my life to add something else in. And that's really like, how I like to work with my clients as well, is how can we empower you with breath practices that you can fit into your life as your life exists right now, because I think that's so important. rather than giving somebody else something else to do. We all have so much to do. We don't need more. How can we complement our life as it is? And everyone in this group, in this room, and anyone watching this video, you have already participated in breath work. You're probably just unaware and unfamiliar in calling it that. So, you know, how many times have you just paused to take a really deep breath in, whether it's because you're smelling some flowers, or it's because you're just trying to calm yourself down before a presentation, or you're walking into a room, or, you know, you're jumping on a call with a client. All of that, whenever we are altering our breath with purpose, you are engaging with breath work. So we all engage with breath work, often on an unconscious level, because our body is very intimate in the practice of breath work, whether our brain knows it or not. It's so familiar and a part of who we are, for us to breathe with purpose and intention. It's just that often our busy lifestyle doesn't support that, but our body knows and remembers, and will often cue us, take a deep breath, or increase your breath more to help you get more sort of movement and fire in your movements, right? So when we're exercising, when we're trying to get geared up and pumped up for something, oftentimes our breath increases and gets faster. All of that is very complementary and fits into what we call breath work.
That's
You
awesome.
actually gave me a breath work to do for my race, if you
Yes.
remember.
Yes.
And so it was not a breath to calm me. It was a breath to energize me. And this breath work I could do from anywhere to a minute to 2 minutes. And I did do it on every lap before I left my tent. And it was a very simple, easy, focused breath work that got my body like pumped. Like you would have thought I had somebody screaming in my ear, like, like I had these cheering people going at me.
Yeah.
And it is something that I have continued to use at times if I'm feeling what's the word? Like the imposter syndrome a little bit. If I'm going to get onto camera or something, I'm like, oh no, we're gonna pump up. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that mojo going. I can crush this. So I have used it in that format. I have also done breath work. I've worked with Megs before, but I've done other breath work with other people that I've had the bad experience from. It was just I was not in the right place for where they took me, both physically and emotionally. So that didn't work out well. And so when Megs had mentioned to me, can we do breath work? I was like, I don't think so. However, she was able to work me through a much more tailored breath work to what I was feeling and who I was as a person and where I was that day within my emotions. So I just wanted to say that because try it. That's like these breath works, you can use them to just for 1 to 2 minutes and just like continue moving on with your day.
That's awesome.
And I'm a full never done breath work, so I'm super excited. And so I just want to find out the connection between, because I have seen social media and all that, the trauma part, and that, why is this breath work, why potentially, not what you're going to show us today, potentially brings out some trauma from your past or some trauma you've gone through? Like why is breath work can do that?
Yeah, really good question. So trauma lives just under the surface, right?
Okay.
Very often it's not something that's buried super, super, super deep. And even if it is, because of the nature of breath work that is aimed to excavate emotions, when we're doing breath work such as that, we're able to process and move through the different layers of emotions so quickly that we then excavate the depths of the trauma or
Okay.
the trauma that exists just under the surface
Mhm.
that we're trying really hard to keep in a really nice, tidy, neat box shoved away on the shelf.
Yep.
It often falls off the shelf and opens up and spills on the floor.
Mhm.
And not that is problematic. Is part of the purpose with particular types of breath work. It's to help folks to process very complicated emotions and emotions that have been stored away for a very long period of time, with the purpose of self-preservation and protection. You know, it's what the brain is designed and created to do. And it's not problematic that it can bring it up. However, it would be problematic if you attended a group breathwork session and the facilitator is not someone who is able to support the person moving through an experience
Okay.
at that time while also trying to facilitate a group setting.
Right.
You know, so I find that breath work is most effective when it's done one-on-one, or if it's in a retreat-like setting that is very specific and tailored to a particular grouping of people who have a common intention around healing or around their gathering. So I find that, you know, it's very important to do sort of like almost a pretty in-depth intake if you are doing the excavation kind of breath work. Now, anyone who's ever been to a yoga class, most likely you've been, again, introduced to breath work in a different capacity. So there's a couple of foundations or fundamentals with breath work that I'm going to walk through right now that will kind of highlight what I mean a little bit more.
Okay.
So in yoga or in yogic principles and practices, when, you know, often we are guided to breathe through our nose. It's what our nose is for. It's for breath, right? Our nose is for breathing. Our mouth is for eating and for talking. So when we breathe through our nose, we're actually regulating our nervous system. If we are not breathing through our nose and we are in fact breathing through our mouth, which most people do, right? Most people are mouth breathers at some point during their day. We're missing the opportunity to regulate our nervous system, to regulate our internal body temperature, which is what happens when we breathe through our nose. And so when we are in a yoga practice, or if we are in a kind of breath work like the breath work we're going to be doing today, when we're breathing through our nose, we're regulating and we're working with our nervous system, oftentimes with the intention of moving into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the aspect that helps us to get into the rest and digest. So the kind of breath work that's going to make you yawn, that's going to make you feel that wonderful heaviness and sleepiness, and just kind of like you can cozy up in a sunny corner somewhere and just be, and everything's good. That's the kind of breath work that we'll be doing today, but that is also the kind of breath work that is far more inclusive and accessible for all. When we are breathing through our mouth in breath work and with purpose, we're altering our state of consciousness and our brain waves. So in doing so, there's a lot of really interesting research coming out about breath work, such as holotropic breath, used with compound PTSD to help folks process that type of trauma. So veterans and things like that there's again a lot of studies coming out of folks who are involved in programs and facilitators, helping them to move through that compound trauma from what they've moved through, with breath work that is done through the mouth. So we're altering the state of the brain when we breathe through the mouth. We're altering our nervous system when we breathe through our nose. So that's kind of one of the big things and key pieces to remember. The other is that just on general terms, the longer your inhale is, the more energy you're bringing to your body. So do it now. Take a really long, full, slow inhale through the nose. And just let the exhale be what it is. You're going to do that a couple times. Inhale, really lengthening the breath in. And the exhale, don't think about it too much. Just let it be what it is. The more that you do that, the more energy you're going to be bringing to your body. Every inhalation, we are oxygenating our blood, therefore bringing life, bringing energy, bringing focus, bringing like that sense of readiness into our body. On the opposite side, if we wanted to ground our energy, if we wanted to slow down, if we wanted to access sleep, like many of you have said that you wanted to do, slowing your exhalation so that your exhale is longer than your inhale will help you access that parasympathetic nervous system and ultimately shifting you into that place of rest and sleep.
Sorry,
So
so
again,
my exhale is longer than my inhale.
correct.
Okay,
Or
and I'm exhaling through my mouth or through just
exhale through the nose.
through the
All
nose?
through the
Because this
nose.
is all, okay.
Yeah, all through the nose. So when we are breathing with intention, right, we really, unless you have been instructed by the breathwork facilitator, you want to be breathing through the nose. Now, you should be instructed either way by the facilitator, whether you're nose breathing or mouth breathing. But generally speaking, again, when we're looking to incorporate breathwork on a daily practice in our own routines without a facilitator present, do it through your nose. That is the most accessible, gentlest, softest form of breath work that we can explore for ourselves. So again, just to recap, if we want to bring energy into the body, our inhalation is longer than our exhalation. If we want to slow things down, if we want to sleep, if we want to rest, exhale is longer than our inhale. A really powerful way of creating that for yourself is counting the seconds of your breath, right? So let's say we wanted to slow things down, inhaling for the count of 4 and exhaling for the count of 6. So we're going to do a couple rounds of that right now. And just, if you feel comfortable to join my count, you can. If you feel like you'd rather keep your count at a different pace, that's also very, very fine. So we're going to start together on the inhale, breathing in through the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then start that inhale right away. Inhale, breathing all the way up to the top. And then exhale. And on that exhalation, you'll notice that you're going to get to the very bottom of your breath, the very bottom of the lungs, right? There's almost just a little moment in time before that inhale kicks back up again, right? And if you think of your breath almost like a very long oval shape, right? On the inhale, we'll travel up the oval, exhale, traveling back down, right into the depths, into the bottom of the lung. And inhale, traveling back up, filling, expanding the body. Exhale, that gentle compression of the lungs, squeezing all the breath out, right? So that's an example of slowing the breath down. To increase energy, you would simply switch it the opposite way. Inhale for 6, exhale for 4. And 6 and 4
For how long? For how long?
For a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So anywhere from really, like let's say you're out doing groceries and you're feeling really anxious all of a sudden, do it until you feel a shift where you feel safe, where you feel grounded, right? It's not so much about do it for this length and you get this, right? Everybody's so, because their nervous systems are so different, what you're processing is always really different. So it's really until you begin to feel the effects, and you might still continue to do that, right? It really depends. It's so situational, right? Because if you're in the grocery store, you don't want to get too sleepy, that it's like, okay, now I have to wake myself back up to drive home. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's so situational in that way that we want to be mindful of our surroundings, where we are, what our intention is, why are we doing this? Same thing when we're increasing the breath too. Really do it until you start to feel that confidence, until you start to feel that sense of energy. And if you want to take it a little bit further, you can. And if you find, oh, maybe I went a little bit too far, I'm feeling slightly over caffeinated, slow the breath down a little bit, right? So you can think of it almost like a volume knob in which we are able to control so much internally, both our energy, our nervous system, our emotions, like we're able to regulate ourselves so much more through our breath. So
you put me to sleep.
Yeah,
I'm
right?
running.
Yeah, exactly. So the breath that I would love to guide you all through is something called a 3-part breath. A 3-part breath is nose breathing. So we're going to be both inhale and exhale through the nose. And if the viewer has ever been to a yoga class, again, very common that this breath is offered in a yoga practice setting. And I want you to imagine that your torso is sort of in 3 different sections. So as we inhale, we want to be drawing the breath all the way down into the low abdomen. So much so that we feel the abdomen expand with the breath. And then the ribs will expand, and then the chest. So we're full up with the breath. And as we exhale, we're going to exhale from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Now, my expansion and contraction there with my body is a bit exaggerated, But sometimes it's a case of faking it till you make it with your breath work. And so if you feel disconnected from this when we begin, then add the movement of the spine. Inhale and sort of arch, cat cow. So we're going to open through the front body on the inhale. Exhale and gently contract. And I'm going to guide you through this in a second. I'm just sort of demonstrating. And that's going to help the brain to connect to the breath. This breath is really good for accessing the rest and digest. So you might start to feel some gurgling in your stomach. You might begin to feel hungry. Depending on the baseline normal of your breath, if you are someone who holds your breath in or out, if you are someone who shallow breathes, this breath is going to oxygenate your body differently, and therefore you will feel different because of the breath. So very normal or common to feel some lightness through the body with this breath. Less so, but it is possible to feel a little bit of tingling through the fingers and through the toes. Again, it depends on sensitivity levels. And that's not problematic at all. That just means that you're oxygenating your blood. Things are starting to really, I like to kind of think of it almost as like things are sparkling or like starting to shine. Which can sometimes give like a visualization to the sensation we're feeling, which if anyone's watching this who may be anxious, the visualization of what is happening can be really beneficial in sort of making it make sense for the brain. But ultimately, this breath is very inclusive, very, very, available for everyone and anyone. You can do this breath seated, as we will be doing, or you can do it laying down as well. Laying down, again, for some, we feel like we have more access to the abdomen, the ribs, and the chest than we do sitting up. When we are sitting up in this breath, I'm going to ask that you lengthen your spine just a little bit more. So finding that perfect balance between I'm sitting tall without it being really stiff and uncomfortable and I can't really move. So just finding that real balance point for yourself. Hands either on the desk or even down on your knees. Just let the shoulders drop down. We're going to start by taking a big clearing breath. So we're not counting. We're not worrying about the part. We're just going to inhale through the nose, filling all the way up. Opening the mouth, sigh. We're going to do that 2 more times. Just a nice clearing breath. Inhale. Open the mouth. 1 more time. On the exhale, let your shoulders drop down, taking any tension away from your jaw and allowing the tongue to drop away from the roof of your mouth. As I guide this breath, feel free to close your eyes. Feel free to move inward. It's really, like I say, a breath designed to help bring us down, to anchor, and to ground us. So as we begin this 3-part breath, once again, we're breathing through our nose and just softening our existence. The facial muscles soften, the shoulders. And when you're ready to join, on the inhalation, breathing all the way in and letting the lower abdomen expand and rise with the breath, filling up into the ribs and up into the chest. Exhale from the chest, the ribs, and the abdomen. Inhale into the abdomen, the ribs, and chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, abdomen. Inhale, abdomen, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, abdomen. So continue in that way, inhaling. And as you breathe in, imagine that there's this very gentle wave rolling up the body, filling from the low abdomen all the way up. And the exhale helps to carry that wave very gently all the way out from the chest, the ribs, the abdomen. Inhale, abdomen, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, and abdomen. Again, keep maintaining that flow of breath. Bringing either your awareness or your imagination to the feelings within the torso. On that inhalation, sensing the abdomen expand, the ribs open, and the chest lift. Exhale, feel the chest soften, the ribs Gently contract and the belly release. And we're going to be here for a few more rounds. If it feels comfortable for you, and by no means do you have to do this, this is invitation only. You might choose to place one hand over your abdomen, connecting you in with this breath in another capacity or in another way. Inhale to the abdomen, the ribs, and the chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, abdomen. Inhale, abdomen, ribs, and chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, abdomen. Inhale, abdomen, ribs, and chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, abdomen. Maintaining another 5 rounds of this breath here. And to add an affirmation in with this breath. In your mind, on the inhalation, saying the 2 words, I am. And on your exhalation, saying the word, grounded. Again, this is just in your mind as you breathe. One more full round, both your inhalation and exhalation. And when you find yourself at the bottom of that exhale, allow your breath to return to a natural rhythm, whatever that may be. You may choose to maintain this 3-part breath a little bit more if it feels supportive for you. But before we open our eyes, just bringing the hands together and rubbing them back and forth until you start to feel some warmth and heat through the palms. And when your hands begin to feel warm, place them over your eyes. Just let the head become heavy into the palms of the hands, a gentle lengthening through the neck and shoulders. We'll welcome one more breath here. And as you're ready to, just bringing your hands down and slowly opening and blinking your eyes back to the sunshine. So I would love to hear from each of you on how that felt.
I'm ready for a nap.
Good.
I'm tingling. I couldn't keep my eyes closed. I felt very vulnerable. And I was like, I cannot keep my eyes closed. So I opened them, but I focused on a little piece on my computer that just kind of zoned me out. So
Yeah.
I felt it very hard to get the big breaths in and big breaths out, probably because I'm a shallow talker. I talk from up here. So I really like that because it helps me get those deep breaths that my body needs. So, it was wonderful. It was lovely. I'm going to do that
good.
later on.
Yeah, good. And I love what you did, that you tended to yourself in that moment of recognition of vulnerability and opening the eyes and resetting, refocusing. That's exactly a beautiful example of how best to steward yourself through breath work, of really respecting and paying attention to what you feel,
Mm.
and then responding with what is best, because no matter who the facilitator is, their voice is always invitation, right? And you are always empowered and rightfully so be able to do what feels right for you in the moment that you're in. I love that.
Which we don't get a lot of that type of permission. It's very, I just love the way you're speaking about this is by invitation and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's big for me, especially in the work with, like I say, like the trauma work and things, really giving permission to the person who's receiving the invitation to let them know that there is no shift or difference in power. There is no shift and difference in what is required. Like, you are fully in control and in the driver's seat. I'm sat next to you offering you directions, but if you want to turn left, let's turn left. You know what I
Right.
mean? So yeah.
Well, that definitely comes through. That definitely comes through.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And same for me. I'm a little bit more like Tracy Gurney. I breathe a lot through my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So forcing that was, and I do that a lot when I run. I'm a very big mouth breather, and I try to do more through my nose. So practicing this was beneficial for me.
Mm-hmm. And I find, because I'm a seasonal nice weather runner myself. When I am running, I notice as well, I'm a mouth breather too when I run. And I think that that's like, there's a necessity for that, because we can get
Yes.
more oxygen into our body that way. However, when you get to a walking place and you want to catch your breath back up, taking those breaths through the nose, although it feels restrictive, is actually going to help you get back into a balanced breath faster than trying to catch your breath through your mouth. And
Yeah.
it feels really, really counterintuitive when you're doing it, because you're like, I'm not getting enough breath, like I'm not getting the air, but it does really help to regulate. Again, there's that word, both the nervous system and the lung capacity, because the heart rate is shifting because of the regulation of the breath. And there's just this beautiful domino effect that happens when we regulate through our nose rather than through our mouth. Yeah. How did the affirmations at the end feel? The I am grounded.
Very good.
That's something that is really beneficial to use. And while I chose the word grounded to suit this breath work, you could choose the word present or safe or asleep, or fill in the blank with whatever it is that you may be looking to feel at that moment in time. And I say asleep because I know, again, a couple people mentioned that they wanted to know what that breath is. And that's even simpler than the one that we just did, in that we inhale the words I am and exhale the word asleep. Because what happens is, when we tell our brain something, our brain goes and finds reasons why that thought is true. So if we're telling ourselves that we are asleep, with a mindful focus on the lengthening of your exhalation to help your nervous system follow suit, you will very quickly fall asleep. And so it can be a really beautiful tool for when we're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, or our brain is just really busy, to focus on that repetitive affirmation and breath over and over again until we eventually drift off.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I know we're pretty far into our recording, but there is one breath work that I think might help people.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be selfish. It is the one that you gave me for the energy.
Yeah.
And down.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that can be something for that also help people, because sometimes I think we become overwhelmed and we zap our energy out. And I found this to be something that was, I don't know, I can't even, like, my son even said afterwards, Mom, it was like you came into base camp and you didn't think about anything. You fueled, you used the facilities, you drank your water, and then I did that, and it was like the circle, and I went right back out. And so I find this one very, like I said, there are times when I go to get on the camera that I have imposter syndrome. Let's be honest. We all have it from time to time. And when I do this one, it like snaps me out of that because it brings my energy to a almost like a queen status. Like, no, you're not. This is it. Let's go. We're gonna move.
Yes.
Do you mind showing us that one?
I would love to. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a really beautiful invitation. And I love how you've used that outside of the race capacity as well to complement what you need. So very similar and off the back of what Michelle has been saying, you know, this breath really helps to build confidence very, very quickly. It stops the imposter syndrome. It makes you feel ready. It makes you feel motivated and present, and just all of you is here and ready. So what we're going to do is I'm going to position myself back just a little bit, because we are going to be using our arms in pretty just in a, you know, reaching above the head sort of way. So positioning yourself with your feet on the ground, finding your way into a comfortable seat. So again, spine is long just to help open the lungs, open the diaphragm so that we can receive the breath fully. And then I'm going to sort of demo what this breath looks like, and then I'll guide you into it for yourself. So what we do is on the inhale, reaching up overhead and creating lovingly the hands close, right? So we're almost like you're grabbing a hold. And as we exhale with force, we're going to pull the hands down to our ears. So we want to really sort of anchor and snap that energy down to us, right? So now I'm going to offer that you can do this. We're going to inhale through the nose always. However, you can exhale through the nose or through the mouth. Okay. And it really comes down to personal preference on this one. With the mouth, I'm going to lovingly suggest that you remain in a seated position if you are exploring this breath for yourself. Exhaling through the mouth, we're going to get probably a little bit more of that lightness, a little bit more of that tingliness faster than you will if you exhale through the nose, because it's far more regulated and controlled when we breathe through our nose, both the in and the out, rather than through our mouth, which is just like a force, right? So the more forceful the exhale, generally speaking, the more forceful the exhale, the deeper we go into our breath work. So if you want to keep things lighter, if you want to keep things a little bit more on the surface, if you're new to this, if you're just not really feeling it, that's okay. Exhale through the nose. If you're like, let's go, I'm ready, exhale through your mouth. All right. So again, finding your seat on the inhale, arms are going to reach up and overhead, grab a hold, exhale. Good. Inhale. And finding a rhythm and a maintenance that feels right for you. So again, the faster you go, the more intensity you're going to feel. The slower you go, again, it's still very effective, but you won't be going as deep. Good. Do a couple more rounds here. And really feeling that force as you come down, feeling your strength, your power, your capacity, your ability. Okay, we'll do 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And when you're ready, just kind of shaking your hands out, getting rid of any of that energy that might feel sort of lingering. And
Okay,
again,
let's go. Let's do this. That was awesome. I'm like, get me out of here. I'm ready to go do something.
Good. And you can see, I mean, we did that for what, maybe 30 seconds?
Oh,
Like it
goodness.
is so effective, and
Yes.
you're able to access energy reserves so quickly. So, you know, any new moms or people who are tired and overwhelmed, like this is a great one to really fuel that energy for yourself and bring yourself into
That one there has stuck with me so much.
I love it.
Like it was, I don't think I've even had that conversation with you since my race, but it was like I said, I would do it and turn and go. I would do it, turn and go. Like, and even Jason said afterwards was like to Amber, like, where did she go again? Like, she like turned what they call turn to burn. Like, wow, and it just, I think it also helps you, like you said, feel the power, but it also helped me turn my focus to what had to be focused on. You know, like the important part, not the fear, the imposter syndrome, the tiredness, the pain. It was empowerment, power, you know, focus, get back out there, go do your next round. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we were
Um,
just at the hill over the weekend, and so it's 5 hours driving, and then you're going boarding, and I just go, oh my, because you know, you're after you've driven for 5 hours, you're done, but then you're still socializing in that, and that would have been just amazing. And then to start off my morning like that, that would have just been, I needed that.
Yeah. Well, now you've got it. You got it for
I
next
got
time.
it now.
you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've been going for a while on this. So Tracy and Tracy, do you have any other questions for Megs?
Well, I'm more of a comment. I'm always about, and I teach my daughters, know your body. No one else will know your body like you do for medical reasons, all of that stuff. And I just think this is just another tool to really help you understand your body more. And I know, you know, I don't know with breath work, but I would think that was if you're doing breath work all the time and then all of a sudden there's problems with you doing breath work, it's probably a symptom that there's something going on in your body. So I just love this as another tool for that. And yes, you better come back and give it some more because I love this.
I could talk for a whole week on this. So anytime. There's so much to explore and dive into and explain, and because it's universal, right? Everybody breathes, so it's something that everyone can use, and it, you know, that's what I love, as well as the accessibility of breath work. It's not something that is limited to a particular person in a particular place and time. You know, it's something that we can all do anywhere, anytime. That just makes us feel empowered and ourselves and aligned and connected and grounded, and all the really beautiful things that we all need more of. So thank you so much for having me.
I have one more question though. What should, if someone, because like I said, I've never done this before, what should I be watching out for from, you know, there's always the experts that aren't just doing their thing. What should I be not looking for? Like, I want to make sure that, you know, outside of you, like, what should someone be just cautious of to make sure they're not going down the wrong way with people?
Yeah, great question. Make sure that the person that you are working with or facilitating, who's facilitating breath for you, is trauma informed, first and foremost. Even if you think, oh, I don't really have any of that, I'm good. Find someone who is trauma informed, because what gets unearthed in emotions and in the release of what has been stored for so long, especially for someone who doesn't continuously process emotions, and we're unfamiliar with different aspects of emotions such as anger or grief or joy or any of those things that often many of us kind of push away. It's important to have someone who can hold the space for you to feel it for the first time, or for the first time in a really big and loud way, and to be able to steward you through that.
Sorry, and what is trauma informed? I don't, what is that?
So trauma informed, you do certifications, you do
Okay.
programs specifically designed to support people who have trauma. Because, you know, again, if someone becomes, if something is brought up in a session and they feel very triggered and very unarmed and very unsafe, the person who is facilitating must be able to help that person reestablish safety within their body, safety within their environment, and safety within their existence and presence with whatever it is that may be happening. And that is not something that you can just pull out of thin air and go, oh, well, I can do that. That is something that is like, we have to take it so seriously. And that is why that really weeds people out between people who offer breath work. And I'm not knocking those people, but there is a big difference between trauma-informed care and regular care. So please seek out trauma-informed breathwork facilitators and coaches. There is a significant difference, both in the trainings and the depth in which they're able to offer you the experience that you're really looking for. Yeah.
I think that would be an excellent revisit, just all on its own, is the whole trauma-informed experience of breath work and
Yoga,
what that means.
movement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's this goes back to another very we've talked about this, the three of us, so many times, that sometimes it is the simplest things that have the biggest impact. And because it is the simplest things, we discount them, we don't engage with them, we kind of toss them off to the side, when you could completely shift your entire state of being and feeling with doing a couple of deep breaths to support yourself. We think, oh no, it's got to be something harder than that. I can't just do that, right? But it is the simplest things that sometimes give us the biggest bang for our dollar.
And just off or in complement to what you've said, make sure that you feel connected to the person that you're seeking out. Make sure that you feel safe in their existence. Even if we're talking like in a virtual setting like this, you can still feel a semblance of safety with someone. And to have that feeling and that comfort is paramount, because if we do not feel that way, we are unable, because the brain will not let us, because it's protecting us, it will not let us get us to the depths that we're seeking out through the purpose of breath work or movement or yoga or whatever it may be. And then therefore we don't get the result that we're hoping for. And then we think, oh, this doesn't work, right? And we tend to throw it out because we're all or nothing beings, right? So making sure that you really feel that intimate connection to someone, that you feel that safety, that you feel really connected to them, is also really important. So thank you for saying that, because it's really
And
important.
I love what you said, the simple things, like we discount them. I want a breath work for when I miscommunicate with my husband.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can give it to you right now.
You got to take that level down. Come on.
It's pretty quick. You want it right now?
Let's do it.
Okay. And this is something, again, viewer, if you have kiddos at home, this is something that you can do with your kiddo. I've taught my 2-year-old how to do this. We do this all the time. It's called the cake breath. So imagine a birthday cake in front of you. Cake, C-A-K-E. So imagine a birthday cake in front of you, and it's all lit up with candles. When we want to cool our internal temperature, because we're angry, we're triggered, we're frustrated, we're whatever, we're overwhelmed, we want to inhale through the nose and then pretend that you're blowing a candle out in front of you. Again. One more time. 3 is magic. Okay, if you're going to choose to do a breath, always at least do it 3 times, a minimum of 3 times, to really feel the impact and difference. But that's a beautiful way of helping to regulate very quickly and cooling our internal temperature. And
I love that. I'm going to be blowing candles out all day long. Oh, I like that one. Oh, I like all of these.
Yeah, good.
Well, thank you, Megs, for joining us today. And to you, viewer, please put in the comments if you have any form of questions on breathwork. As you can tell, Megs is very passionate about this, and she has a whole week's worth of info that she could share with us. So please make sure that you put it in the comment. We would love the comments, because that would help us when we bring her back, to give her some more information of what you might be looking for, or what questions you might have with that. So please put them in the comments. Share this with somebody that you think could benefit from these 3 different types of breath works that she has shown us, from the energy to the grounding to the miscommunication with our husbands or partners, all of that. So please share this. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and notifications, so you learn of our new episodes every Wednesday. Until next time.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.